Hey guys, Camfrey15 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another One Piece anime episode review for you guys, as I'm going to talk about the last three episodes I freaking missed or I didn't review. Um, you know, Obviously one of it has to do with I'm lazy, and then two, I'm pretty busy throughout my week, so getting out as much content as I can get. But listen, lo and behold, One Piece. Been going crazy. Last week's episode, or this week's episode, I know it kind of got a little bit of flack for pacing issues, but I'll talk about that in a second. The first episode that y'all get into, I kind of have a little bit of a mini rant, and that's in regards to the Jewelry Bonney scene, with the shirtless top stuff, and then obviously talking about more One Piece stuff and where the story could be potentially going, which I already know where the story potential is going, but I just gotta be honest. Anyways, let's start off with episode. Let's see. Episode 1090. So where we last left off is essentially we pick up where we last left off from the end of episode 1089, where Luffy went up to go grab Bonnie in her kid form, and then Chopper flew over. Also, what is it? He had to grab Chopper too. Now what happens is they end up falling into the water. Jinbei has to go grab them or go swim and get them. He ends up getting them, and then obviously what happens is they end up on, or what we're led to believe is the fact that throughout this whole scene we have it to where basically the Straw Hats look like they're about to get eaten by this gigantic metal shark that has Punk on it, or Vegapunk on it. They end up getting saved by, obviously we see Dr. Vegapunk, aka Lilith, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now we do cut over to what the Marines have been doing since this time. One, we actually see the kids from Punk Hazard, Mocha, and the other kids that were forcibly turned into giants and forcibly taken the candy drugs that Caesar did, and essentially they're getting treatment done. They're taking obviously this antidote to get them back to their regular size, so then they'll be ready to go home. Less me. Tashigi's actually watching in over them, and you have it to where she's looking in, making sure that they're all good and everything. We don't see Smoker, so we don't know. I don't know where Smoker's at, but essentially we see Tashiga. She talks to Mocha, and Mocha kind of wonders. She's like, I hope I get to see obviously Big Sister again, which she's referencing Nami and everything in the Straw Hats. And she talks about, I think the other kids bring them, they want to go out to sea to see them again. And Tashigi, she kind of has to put on that face yeah, I think you'll see them real soon and everything. But obviously she's a Marine and she can't let these kids see these pirates, right? So that's kind of the thing. Now we actually end up cutting over, and we end up seeing Helmeppo and this girl by the name of Hibari talk to this commander named Prince Groose. We also see Vice Admiral Dahl here. And she talks to Shigi for a bit. It's been a while since I've seen the episode, so I forgot what they talked about. But going back to the Prince Groose scene, essentially everywhere Helmeppo and Hibari are essentially very emotional. They're crying tears, can we do something to save Kobe, because Kobe is captured by Blackbeard, right? We'll get to back Blackbeard in a bit, actually. And he's being held on their pirate island, and Prince Groose makes a mention about that, and he's like, listen, we cannot go save Kobe. As much as we probably want to, we can't do that because that's on the pirate island. We can't do that. That's Blackbeard's forces. Unless we're commanded to basically go there, we can't. So that's kind of thing. Now, the thing is, Helmeppo's obviously, he wants to go save his friend. Now, Hibari, on the other hand, I don't know what this is signifying, but she's definitely signifying the fact that she must have some sort of weird crush on Kobe, because she's calling him Kobe senpai. Usually in that term of Japanese language, that means your elder or something like that, or somebody you respect, or in a weird way, kind of I guess you could say some sort of lover, I guess, if some people say it like that in that type of way. But it definitely seems like Habari has some sort of like crush on him. So maybe that's kind of the thing. It's funny because I remember back when like he was during the time of the rivalry, he saved like Rebecca, and I'm like, does him and Rebecca have something potentially going on? I don't know if they're hinting at that or something, but it must seem like it's some sort of just one-off thing he was doing to protect her. But it seems like Habari, this new chick, is definitely into Kobe, and she definitely has feelings for Kobe. Um, and maybe that's because of the amazing things he's done in the short time frame of him being a Marine. So it's the thing. Her design looks cute. Prince Gru's design looks hilarious as shit. He's literally got this long ass Bill baseball cap he's wearing, and it's absolutely hilarious. It's just a goofy design, just a goofy design. So yeah, that's basically where we're kind of left off on there on the Marine front. So that's kind of basically it. We'll talk about anything world government related when I get to the most recent episode. Now, cutting over to Luffy, Bonnie, Jinbei, and Chopper. What happens is essentially Jinbei has to get away from the ship because obviously, or the Sunny, because this freaking underwater shark is there, and plus the waves are very heavy. So, he dives. They get to this little like sewer area. They they freaking drying their clothes out. Now, the thing about this episode which got people up in arms was the Bonnie scene. And it's the Bonnie scene when she is topless. And she's trying to dry out her clothes, and basically her boobs are all out in the picture. Now, people at this point in time, like 3 weeks ago, were up in arms and they were freaking like, why would they? Toei is disgusting. Why would they do this? Blah 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 blah. And people were very upset, and they were like, "This is absolutely disgusting. Why would Toei do this? Don't they have any common sense?" Um, and I kind of want to give a little bit of a freaking rant about that scene. Now, the scene, it's no big deal. Essentially, yes, Bonnie is drying up her clothes and she's talking. Anyways, the whole scene before I get to my rant, she's drying up her clothes and everything. They're just talking, and Luffy's kind of messing around and everything. And obviously, Bonnie's like, "This guy's an emperor. What the hell is this?" Uh, excuse me. And she's just utterly like shocked. She goes on to say like she's here for Dr. Vegapunk and everything, and she's here to kill Dr. Vegapunk. And this shocks Luffy, Chopper, and Jinbei, and they're like, "Oh, okay." Anyways, going back to the scene and everything. Listen, I'm not gonna say anything. Because I don't want it to be interpreted as me being weird. Listen, I I can see why people are overreacting to the scene. Now that contains future spoiler stuff right then and there. I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna get into it. But honestly, I think this scene is way completely blown out of proportion. Like it's completely blown out of proportion. Like my freaking god, it is the fact that this scene got this amount of like overreaction and hate. I have no absolute clue. For and again, like I said, knowing the fact that I read the manga and knowing the context about the future of the Egghead art and where the art goes, you'll probably end up finding out the reason why people were upset at this scene if you're an anime only. Now, personally, it doesn't bother me. The scene doesn't bother me. All I attribute it to is as it's just fan service. Now, obviously, it can get complicated with what ends up happening later, but it's clear-cut fan service for anime only fans at this point. When One Piece does fan service all the goddamn time, like, what are we talking about? Like, come on now. Like, it isn't what you would quote unquote say is a hentai anime or something like that. It's an anime that it has its fan servicey moments. There's multiple times where there are fan service moments where you have legitimate One Piece girls in the nude. Remember freaking when Nami on Thriller Bark was trying to take a shower and you had it to where I forgot his name, but was literally invisible spying on her as she's taking a shower. Now again, I wasn't at that point in time where I was watching that, so I don't know what people's reaction to that scene was. I didn't hear much people get up in arms about that, right? Remember back in Alabasta when frickin' Nami and Vivi were frickin' taking a bath at the end of the arc, and kind of in a weird way, the guys, aka even her father to an extent, Vivi's own father, they were potentially interested in peeking at Nami and Vivi. I didn't, that was turned into a comedic scene and everything because the whole happiness punch or whatever, right? I didn't see anybody get upset about that. Now, maybe people were upset at the fact, like, why the hell is a man of Cobra stature trying to peek in on on his own daughter taking a bath, even though he's more than probably trying to look at eye candy for Nami, not looking at his daughter. But regardless, I didn't see people get up in arms about that situation. Um, the Boa Hancock moment when Luffy first meets Boa Hancock when she's taking her shower. Nobody had an issue with that. Nobody had an issue with that. I'm trying to think. Trying to think. What are other moments that are kind of touchy, kind of dodgy? Oh, here's another moment when you had Usopp when the Stars first reunite. Literally, Nami is whole freaking hugging Usopp, and his face is legitimately in her boobs. Didn't see nobody get upset about that or like, oh, that's so disgusting. A man shouldn't be forcibly in some girl's boobs. You didn't clearly see Usopp is clearly liking it because he's blushing and everything. Oh yeah, let's go most recent. Wano arc. I didn't hear much of an outcry when Sanji was legitimately peeping in on Nami and Robin in the public bathroom in Wano when they were taking a bath, and he's wearing his Soba mask outfit or his Germa 66 outfit to be stealth black, and he's literally peeping on them and everything. Nobody had an issue with that. Now maybe some people had an issue with that just strictly from the freaking Sanji fact that they keep calling Sanji a perv, but nobody had an issue with that. They just like, oh, it's funny. Oh, and then let's go recently. Another recent moment. Nobody blew up when Yamato was taking a bath full out in the freaking nude with the other guy characters. Now, obviously, Yamato proclaims herself as Odin, she proclaims herself as a man. But at the end of the day, she's a woman, right? Nobody had any issues with Yamato legitimately getting in the freaking bathtub with other men. Nobody had an issue with this. So, what the hell is the big deal about the Bonney scene? Now, you can respectfully disagree. If you disagree, that's fine. You don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. All animes do frickin' fan service. As not as it's as frickin' insane and just like crossing the line. For example, Sword Art Online in the back half of season 1, when you legitimately had a grown man in Sugo legitimately trying to on his quest to marry Asuna, who is like 16 years old. You have it in the final fight of season 1. You have it to where he literally pins Kirito down and legitimately is trying to R-word his girlfriend right in front of her face. Mind you, this girl is like 16 or 17 years of age, and the man is damn near a grown-ass man. Now that I do not like, and I think that was crossing the line, and I don't like that. And especially when I go back and rewatch SAO sometimes, I don't like watching that scene because it's just absolutely disturbing, right? I don't see any problem with this Bonney scene in this episode being absolutely disturbing to the point people are up in arms. Now, I understand why people are up in arms about it and the reasons behind it. I'm not going to spoil it for anime onlys. But I think people are kind of overreacting a little bit too much. And it's kind of that whole cancel culture, stupid nature that this society can't freaking just handle. Obviously, you have to be respectful to women and, things like that. I'm not saying don't be respectful. Be respectful. You treat women with the utmost respect and the utmost kindness. Like if you know anything about the WWE situation, blah 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 blah. Don't do what happened in that situation, right? But it's just fan service. Anime does it. One Piece is notoriously done with fan service. How many freaking times do they always do these boob shots, or they have these girl characters essentially? I'm like, speaking of, I was just talking about Rebecca. They had Rebecca, who's like 16 years old in the One Piece storyline, legitimately wearing a freaking Roman like attire, and it's in a bikini form, and it's very revealing, very fan service, and nobody had an issue with that. Nobody had an issue with that. What are we talking about over here then? Why are we getting so upset over this Bonnie scene, but we legitimately have other moments in the One Piece storyline where you can actually say, no, that's valid to why that scene should be hated? Like, come on now. Come on. Like, One Piece is, when it comes to their female characters, usually you have those fan service moments. And usually the characters, the female characters, what's the one thing in terms of their body structure? They have big boobs, big butt, typically, and a very attractive feature. Simple as that. I see no problem. And it's legitimately, and they do it all the time with Nami, where they give her fan service moments. It's not every time they do it, but the moment they started increasing her chest size, they started to do more fan service moments. So I don't see why some One Piece fans got so upset by the Bonnie scene. They didn't get upset. There wasn't as much of an outcry in the manga. Now, again, I know the context, why people are probably upset. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. It's not like as if they showed legitimately the parts of her boobs, you know? It's not like they uncovered them and they uncensored it. Like they kept it censored. But we live in a day and age in a society where people take offense to, or people get offended, or they just get so indefensive about certain situations and stuff like that. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. Anyways, that's my rant, my little mini rant before I get to my second rant about the pacing and shit like that when it comes to One Piece. Um, next episode. So next episode, we show Dr. Vegapunk. Dr. Vegapunk is AKA, well, Lilith, where we see Lilith, who is a which when her character just first after that episode showed the next episode, people were legitimately just like, oh, Dr. Vegapunk is thick. And you have people like simping for Dr. Vegapunk or Lilith now. Because, oh, she's got cake. Now listen, I'm not gonna deny it. Toei beefed her up in those buttocks areas. Like, I don't even think in the manga she was this freaking caked up. If I'm being honest, like the anime, holy hell, Toei was like, nah, we need to cake Lilith up. Make sure you cake her up, because like one of the first shots you see her walking out of the freaking Vegapunk, robot. What is it? You see her butt, and you can see like, okay, Toei, I know what you're doing here. You're trying to get people to start thirsting over Lilith, but essentially you kind of have it to where Lilith's kind of talking her shit. She's essentially telling the Straw Hats, listen, give me all your gold and all your treasures and everything, and then I'll let you go free. And basically Nami's like, what the hell? Like, why would we give you this? And obviously Lilith's like, oh, so you don't want to give me this. Now, obviously the one thing is, Frankie and the other guys, obviously, well, with the exception of Zoro, they're all like, oh, wow, this is great. This is great. You're Dr. Vegapunk. Frankie makes the mention like, oh, I went to your place in not Baltico. In the place Kuma sent him before the 2-year time skip, right? And he's like, I saw where you lived and blah, 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 and your work. You think you can show me any more things? And Lilith's like kind of having none of it. She's like, yeah, that's great. That's great. That's great. Yeah. Anyways, give me your treasure. Otherwise, you're going to die. So it was absolutely funny, that interaction. You have Sanji end up simping over freaking for Lilith and everything. But you have it to where Lilith gets this comm sent to her from this other Dr. Vegapunk called Shaka. Um, Now, Shaka's like, listen, Lilith, you might want to be on your guard and take these guys seriously. They are not only the crew of the Emperor Straw Hat Luffy, but look at the two particular members, Roronoa Zoro and the Nico Robin. And basically, have to where Nico Robin and Zoro, they're basically on guard. And basically, Shaka's saying, like, listen, you don't want to F with them. You will die if you even think about picking a fight. They've already got you beat. And basically, this shocks Lilith because she's like, wait a second. Oh, okay. I've been a little bit too careless now, huh? And basically, Zoro kind of gives her a talk back, saying like, "Oh, try me," essentially. And essentially, Lilith, to an extent, kind of somewhat backs off. But even then, you have it to where Shaga's like, "Hey, actually, let's see if we can bring them in. I would like to talk with them. Actually, I have an idea." Um, So that's kind of thing. Also, too, Lilith makes the mention about them being the Stella. Now, I'll talk about that in a second. And they're like, because Straws make the mention like Stella. What the hell is that? Anyways, we come back to Luffy, Bonnie, Jinbei, and Chopper. They're walking to get to higher ground, and basically, Bonnie explains why she wants to kill Vegapunk, and she goes on to say, well, the thing is, Vegapunk ended up uh killing my father and turning him into a cyborg. And then you have it in the scene where you kind of get silhouettes of Kuma, and we find out obviously in this most recent episode that apparently Kuma or no, it is confirmed, not apparently. It's a confirmed that Bonnie's father was Kuma. Um, and this kind of shocks the Strats. Now, um, what happens is they go to a higher ground and they get to Egghead and they see just this futuristic city. And the way the Toei did Egghead, it looks amazing. It looks amazing. You have like this gigantic ass robot, this freaking dragon fighting each other. Luffy tries to, I guess, pick a fight with them, but he goes through with it because it's a hologram. They see food, Body Chopper and Luffy, they see food, they get all hungry and everything, and they go through it, and it's a hologram. Um, so so basically, um, they get fooled. Now you have it to where they bump into this one area, and essentially, they basic they essentially eat all this food, and in the meantime they they run into this other character that is also called Dr. Vegapunk. And as I'm getting the name real quick, what trying to think. Yes. You have it to where this other Dr. Vegapunk shows up, and we have three different Dr. Vegapunks we've seen. And this one is called Atlas, which she's like a big, cute, like giant looking, like kind of. She has like goat ears in a way. She looks very adorable, very cute. And Luffy at first, it's funny because he tries to punch her and everything, and then Edison's like, "Oh, you want some?" and literally beats the shit out of Luffy and knocks him back and everything. And then Luffy's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And then we also see how Atlas punches the hologram, and it's because she's wearing these gloves that is able to do it. Now the one thing about these versions, I guess, of um, excuse me, these versions of Dr. Vegapunk are what they call in the next episode satellites of Dr. Vegapunk. They have like different meanings. Like Lilith is evil, Shock I think was good, Atlas is I think she said like punishment or something like that, or violence or whatever. And it's kind of like their characteristics in a way, which makes sense. It looks like Atlas is like somebody that will just create a lot of violence. Lilith evil makes sense because she was legitimately trying to steal the Straw Hats' money, and then Shaka is the good one, and is basically like, all right, no, don't do this. Like, let's actually be kind and bring them in. So it seems like based on their names or whatever, or their meanings, is also based on like what type of personality trait they have as well. So that's kind of thing. But anyways, Alice kind of welcomes them in. They're like, oh yeah. So anyways, that kind of cuts into the most recent episode. Now the most recent episode, just picking up with the Atlas scene. Essentially, it's like, well, Atlas is like, oh well, I'm glad you got your fill and everything, and you ate so well. And you have to where this middle dog comes in, is eating up the freaking garbage essentially, and she's like, oh yeah, that's just a robot dog that eats any garbage just to recycle for resources. It's funny because the dog's like called Recycle or something like that. You know, so essentially what happens is Atlas is, and it's funny because eventually Luffy's like, oh really? Okay, here you go. He throws like this freaking like for example like this in and out like cup. He throws this in and out cup, and the dog looks at it, the robot dog, and the robot dog looks at Luffy, gets upset, and starts chasing after Bonnie, Luffy, and Chopper, right? Um, and essentially like bites them at the same time. They lose all the fat they gained up after eating. And essentially Atlas like, oh yeah, just to let you know, the dog doesn't like people that litter, so that's why the dog attacked you. And Luffy's like, you could have told me this from the start, man. Come on now. So yeah, but anyways, Atlas like, well, enjoy Egghead. Enjoy your visit. I'm gonna go do my violence thing. And she literally goes up there and she punches the shit out of the dragon again. So she's gone. You wonder if you're gonna see her again. Probably so. Now let's go to the start of the episode. The start of the episode contains CP ages 0 in terms of the form of characters we haven't seen for quite a while. Not really since the Reverie. And that's Lucci, Stussy, and Kaku. And basically, they're kind of having a breakdown meeting, and Kaku's talking about the different satellites of Vegapunk. He basically lists them all down, and we get the confirmation here that the 3 Vegapunks we've seen so far, they're not really Vegapunk. That's not the real Vegapunk. We get a confirmation that no, Vegapunk is a guy. It's not a chick, or it's not any of these other people that claim to be Dr. Vegapunk. There's just one Dr. Vegapunk, and because he's so smart and he didn't have enough time, he created 6 other satellite bodies that I guess in a weird way take the name of Dr. Vegapunk. And basically their names are Yorick, Atlas, Pythagoras, Edison, Lilith, and Shaka. We do see their form. We do see what they look like in silhouetted forms. They don't now. The one thing that was kind of interesting is the fact that they still silhouetted Lilith and frickin' Atlas off and everything. Because it's like, wait, why not just put them in full color? We know what they look like. Shit, and even to an extent, Shaka as well. But no clue. But like, 2 of them look like robots. 3. Shaka does look like kind of like a robot too. And then 3 of them look humanoid, which is York, Atlas, and Lilith. York seems like she's a fat chick. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. But we kind of get the explanation of the fact that they are being sent to go to Egghead so they can kill Dr. Vegapunk. Or well, actually not kill Dr. Vegapunks. My bad. They're being sent to Egghead to take this seraphim, I'm guessing, of Kuma to Egghead. So, which actually, let me see. I actually got the episode popped up. Yeah. Yeah, okay. They do talk about killing him. So apparently they're going to Egghead to kill Vegapunk and everything, which is crazy. Now they bring up actually the Lelucia Kingdom incident, and Stussy's like, "Do you think this has something to do with Lelucia?" And then frickin' Kaku and Lucia are like, "We're not going to talk about that right now. We don't care." So that's kind of the thing right then and there. And yeah, so. That's interesting. It's interesting. Why would CP0 be sent to potentially kill Vegapunk? So clearly it must mean that Vegapunk must have did something that was against world government, and the world government didn't really appreciate what he must have been doing. So that's kind of the thing. Also, too, we see the seraphim form of Kuma. Um, it's crazy. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. So that's where we kind of leave off there. Anyways, after Atlas says her goodbyes to Luffy and the crew, um, Luffy is looking around. He ends up getting some clothes on, and that's basically the clothes he's going to be wearing for this arc. It looks cool. I like the colors. And Jinbei, Chopper, and Bonnie, they all wear their representative outfits for this arc too. And then that's when Luffy, he ends up picking up. Now, I don't know if it's because of his hockey, his observation hockey problem. It's most like his observation hockey. Um, and which it's shocking because I didn't know they could sense. I didn't know Luffy could like use his hockey to sense like actual like robots or pacifistas because they're robots, right? Unless he was looking to the future. And basically, we look at this other Kuma that is like a freaking policeman. Now, Luffy is like, whoa, 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 hold on a bit. And then, because Bonnie, it looks like she's about to say her separate bye, she's like, all right, I'm gonna go find a weapon to go finish off Dr. Vegapunk too, right? And then Luffy kind of stops her. And then when they see the freaking Kuma, he's like, all right, we got to get out of here because this Kuma's looking for us, right? And the Kuma starts attacking them. And we find out from the words of this Kuma, this Kuma pacifista, is the fact that they're basically gonna be killed because they didn't pay the fees for food and clothing, and in a way they're kind of like shoplifting, which it's absolutely funny because Luffy's like, wait, we had to freaking we had to pay for all this crap, and then obviously Jim is like, well, I guess so, but that's kind of thing. Now, anyways, they have to stop for a bit because the freaking pacifist is firing off lasers like all pacifistas do. So Luffy looks like he's about to fight, and it looks like Luffy doesn't want to fight because he knows what Kuma did for him after the time skip. And I believe this is the first time they actually are seeing Kuma for a long no. Yeah, it's I think it's the first time they've seen Kuma for a long time. A long time, because the last time they seen a pacifista unit was before they left for the New World, before Fishman Island arc started. Um, but you see, you have it to where Luffy is trying to fight off against the pacifista, and he looks like he's about to do a gum like elephant gun or whatever. But then Bonnie comes in and she kicks Luffy to the ground, and then she starts crying and everything, and you're like, whoa, whoa, wait, what? And then Luffy's like, what? Why'd you do that? And then Bonnie's like, listen, you can't hurt him. And that's when Bonnie reveals the truth that Bartholomew Kuma is her father, and we get this quick little flashback scene where we see a young kid Bonnie running to Kuma and giving him a hug, essentially. So that's a huge revelation. Kuma and Bonnie are related. Kuma and Bonnie are related. And it's funny because my co-host on the channel, the Red Wolf, he was like, I was talking with him about the episode before this new episode, and he was like, don't tell me what I think is happening right now. Don't tell me that what I think. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to give it away, but I won't do it. But now the secret's out of the bag. So that's kind of thing. She starts getting very emotional, and then we leave off on that point because the pacifista fires a laser at Bonnie, and Luffy tries to go in there and save Bonnie, and that's where we're kind of left off because it looks like they get caught in the blast or whatever. We cut over to, shockingly enough, Trafalgar Law. Trafalgar Law. It's been a while since we've seen him since Wano. Well, I wouldn't say been long. It's been like 4 or 5 episodes since we've seen Law. And essentially, what happens is we're left off on a cliffhanger going into a break of the anime, and that's the fact that none other than Marshall D. Teach, Blackbeard, and some members of his crew, like, frick, man. Jesus. Jesus Burgess, who has a mask now because remember, Sabo crushed his frickin' face, back in Dressrosa. Van Auger, the guy with the sick fruit, and then the horse. And basically Blackbeard's like, well, our prey is right here. Let's go get him and everything. And Law's like, well, I guess we got to prepare for battle. So, seemingly enough, it looks like we're getting Blackbeard versus Trafalgar Law. And we all know what Blackbeard likes to do when he sees pirates with very important devil fruits. He wants to try to take that said devil fruit. So, this could be a problem if Blackbeard somehow gets his hands on the Opopnomi, because if he can get maybe like a crewmate of his to have the fruit and maybe perform the immortal surgery on him, well then Blackbeard's going to be a massive problem, and there'll be not one damn person that can stop him, because he's already got an OP ass devil fruit with the fact that his dark devil fruit powers essentially conceal any devil fruit abilities, and then on top of it he's got freaking Whitebeard's quake fruit. So it's absolutely crazy. It's going to be very interesting to see how Trafalgar Law potentially gets out of this situation, if he gets out of this situation. But you just have to hope, like, I hope Law doesn't die, because Law's been an integral character in the One Piece story for like years. So it's going to be very important to see. And we're left off on that cliffhanger. Next week is a legit recap episode about Trafalgar Law. I don't know why there's a recap episode next week, but whatever. I guess it's another week. Whatever. I guess another week the manga can get at. Which leads me into my last one before I get out of here. I guess this last episode, some people on Twitter or whatever, X, whatever you want to call it, they kind of had an issue with the pacing. Now, personally, I already know One Piece anime pacing isn't the best in terms of anime pacing. And sometimes there's just scenes where you're just having two characters look at each other and you got this ominous music playing in the background and things like that. And it's just like, what are we doing here? What the heck? And then you just look at your freaking time on the episode and like 3-4 minutes had passed. And these characters are just doing the same thing and looking at each other, not saying a damn word, right? It just got music playing in the background. Now, apparently, I guess people had an issue with it this week. Especially in regards to the scene with Kuma and Luffy. Now, listen, the reason why I have I don't have no problem with this anymore is because, one, I'm accustomed to the One Piece pacing. I know the One Piece pacing in the anime absolutely sucks. Like, I saw one tweet out there saying, like, I can't wait for the new anime to come because, my God, the One Piece pacing is absolutely dog shit, right? But see, what people don't fail to understand is this. If the anime adapts like legitimately, like maybe like a whole chapter or two chapters in one episode, the anime is going to catch up with where the manga's at currently right now, and that would only mean one of two things. Either the anime is going to have to do some sort of weird filler offshoot arc like what Bleach used to do in their original anime, where they would catch up to the manga, they would have these offshoot like filler arcs where it would be like 20, like maybe 15 to 20 long episode arc about something that doesn't even pertain to the main story. Mind you, some of these filler arcs actually got in the way of current stories. And the only reason, to my knowledge, I didn't watch Bleach back then, but to my only knowledge, the reason why they did those filler arcs was because the anime was catching up to the manga at that point in time. And it was like legitimately maybe a few chapters away. So what does the anime think of doing? Well, we just can't put the anime on hiatus. We want to still make it a long-running anime. We're just gonna have to give it pointless filler that doesn't take place probably in the weird continuity of Bleach, unless in a weird way it probably does, but whatever. So going to the point is, if the anime adapts 1 to 2, even 3 chapters in one episode, well then, my God, the anime is going to catch up to where the manga is at currently, and one of two things has to happen. You're either going to get a pointless filler arc where they're going to extend it so much to where maybe it's like 20, 30 episode long filler arc, so the manga can get enough chapters to adapt to have the anime, or for the chapters to, there are enough chapters to be out, so the anime can get those chapters and adapt those chapters into animated form. That's the reason why, as of late, you've kind of been seeing more of these fillerishly episodes. Like you've been getting it a lot near the tail end of the Wano arc, and then two, you're obviously next week you're getting another fillerly, just one shoot filler episode. Um, of just Law, because the anime Toei knows, okay, we're legitimately in the same arc as the manga is, and if anything, we're right around the corner from where the manga's at. So one of two things we can do. A, with our long running One Piece anime, we can either go on hiatus, aka like a Black Clover right now is going, even though Black Clover, the anime could come back because they have enough chapters to adapt. I don't think they can. They definitely don't have enough chapters to adapt what the current arc of Black Clover, the manga, is doing right now. But you get my drift. Or you just have, or you have to draw out the pacing on an episode that you think can contain a lot of content, but you just draw it out because, well, guess what? We need to freaking make sure there's enough distance between the anime and the manga so we can continue to adapt the show, which kind of goes into the issues of just yearly long animes being run. Because obviously, with a yearly long anime, you're going off and adapting the manga chapters. And if the anime somehow catches up to the said manga, well, then anime has to take a break, and probably a huge, substantial break, maybe leading up to maybe a year, potentially 2 years and a half, or literally a year. No, yeah, a whole year, or maybe going on a second year and a half. So the anime has enough content to adapt from the manga. Now, One Piece isn't a seasonal anime. Now, and usually with One Piece, their arcs are fairly long. So if it was like a seasonal anime, maybe it will work for arcs and everything. And maybe that's what the new One Piece remake anime is going to do. It's going to be a seasonal anime where they just cover one freaking arc at a time for a season, and then boom, that's kind of it. Um, you know, or one saga as a whole. So that's kind of the thing right then and there. But the fact that people are getting up in arms about the pacing, it's like, listen, come on, you've been watching One Piece for years. You know the pacing is shit. Don't get so mad about it. But at the same time, you need to realize the reason why the pacing might be super slow is because the anime is probably right around the corner of what the manga is doing. Now, obviously, you're saying, well, then why even make an episode to begin with? Well, listen, they make an episode to do it just to do it. You may not like the fact that they don't have pacing, but if the anime is like right around the corner from the manga, what do you want? Do you want the One Piece anime consistently coming out, or do you want the anime to go on break every other freaking week, or go on hiatus every other month? Because we're caught up to where the manga's at right now, so we got to take a break, and obviously that halts episodes being created. That's kind of the thing. So people may not like it, but that's just the facts. It's just the facts, plain and simple. Literally, I read the manga for One Piece. Like, the anime is probably like 20 to 25, maybe 30 chapters away from where the manga is currently at right now. So, listen, there's a reason why the pacing's probably bad. Just chalk it up as, okay, it's probably because the anime is close to the manga. And listen, I thought the pacing in the Wano arc near the tail end was a lot better because they were going through chapters, trying to get down with the arc, because at that point in time, the manga, in terms of the Wano arc, was done. So they could literally adapt 1 to 2 chapters for a full episode and not really have a lot of pacing issues. So that's the thing right then and there. So yeah, that's basically it. That's all I got to say about One Piece. I gave my 2 rants, blah, 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 blah. The last few episodes were great. I'm not going to be able to talk about One Piece this next week because we're getting a recap episode. And it's good because the manga is actually going to be having a chapter. Then they're going to go on break. And that probably means the anime is going to come back off its break. So maybe they plan this stuff in accordance. They probably know the manga is going to have a break next week. Maybe potentially. And, we'll just have the anime take a break for a week. So, whatever. Anyways, that's basically all I gotta say. It's funny how I barely coughed this episode at all because I kind of had a cough. But regardless, anyways, I'm gonna get out of here. Catch you guys next video. Till then, guys, stay safe out there and have a great rest of your day, night, or whichever this video. Till then, guys, peace.